Here in my office, I got some education supplies from our education box here at the hospital. I wanted to go over a couple of things. We're going to be doing some end-tidal CO2 sampling, and I wanted to go over the different types that you might see in a hospital setting. So you'll notice this one here is all one piece, and you have a male lure lock. It's important that you know the devices that you have, know the supplies that you have. In this facility, we have this type of end-tidal for everywhere else in the hospital except for ER. ER uses this type, which is the female lure lock, and this is a two-piece, so you have to screw this on, put this in line, and then attach this to your end-tidal monitor. This one just screws right in, and I will show you how to hook that up. We're going to go ahead and just do a circuit setup. Now, I want to make a disclaimer that this is a heated wire system. Okay? Under normal circumstances, this would be used with active humidity, and the use of an HME would not be required. We're going to pretend that this is just standard large bore tubing today with no heated wire, and we are not running active humidity. So I'm going to show you the HME in line. We have our end-tidal sampling line and a Ballard suction catheter. Alright. HME goes in line.
Census alert phase 1. May I have your attention, please? Census alert phase 1. May I have your attention, please?
End-tidal sampler.
Census alert phase 1. Thank you.
Now, you can either put your Ballard directly in line like this, but look at how rigid that is. There's no give there, and if you're not careful, all of the weight of this circuit is going to be right on the patient's ET tube or tracheostomy. So most of your Ballards will come with this. Okay, it's just a little flexi adapter. We're going to go ahead and put that in line. Now, you'll notice that you have a little bit of flexibility, so it's not so rigid, and then if this is extended, even more so, you get even more flexibility. But this allows to take some of the pressure of the circuit off of the artificial airway. Now, one of the considerations with using this is the amount of dead space that you're adding to your circuit. So think of from the lung, you have all of this until you get to the patient Y, all of that dead space. Okay, so that's something that you need to be mindful of, and something that you should monitor, which is why we use the end-tidal CO2, so that we can keep an eye on how much CO2 is being exhaled. That does not, just because it adds dead space, does not disqualify us from using this. This is a very useful adapter. But what it does do is, what it should do is make us aware that we are adding dead space and we could be rebreathing CO2. Discussion should be had with your physician, and make any necessary changes to your vent settings to make sure that the patient's being properly ventilated. All right, once you have your circuit set up, you're connected to your patient, the next step would be to hook this up to your end-tidal monitor. In some cases in the ER, your end-tidal monitor is part of the main monitoring system. In other cases, you may have a separate console completely that's used for monitoring the end title that's not connected to the main monitoring system at all. But you're going to connect that. You're going to get your initial reading and make sure you document that. So once you've got this connected, give it a little bit to start to draw that CO2 into the sampler. Once it's analyzed, you will get give it a couple breaths. You'll get a consistent reading, and once you have that, you're going to want to make sure that you document that initial baseline end title. Alright, so we're going to look at this is one of our end title boxes that does not hook up to the central monitoring system. You'll notice over here is where we plug in the sampling line. It does not accept the other type of line. You'll notice here the other one that I showed you does not fit in this, so we have to use this particular type. So you're just going to pop that over, you're going to twist it in place, turn your machine on. It's going to ask me if I want to delete the old patient data, so I'll go through that process, and then you'll start seeing, and I'm actually going to breathe through this tube, so you'll start seeing my end title picking up here in a minute. Okay, and you'll notice that it started out a little bit lower, but then we started getting consistent 40, so we're going to document that as our baseline.